to Teleperformance's exclusive podcast for Women's Equality Day. I'm Audrey Thomas, Employee Engagement Coordinator and member of the Teleperformance USA TP Women Board. Each week in August, we've been meeting with leaders across many departments of Teleperformance and getting their perspective and insight on females in leadership. I'm super excited to chat with today's guest and longtime TP veteran, Letitia Watson, who is our call center manager in Panama City Beach. Letitia, where we start out, I want to give you a chance to just do kind of a quick bio on yourself and let everybody know, how long you've been with Teleperformance and some of your journey, because I know it's been a really long time. So you've kind of started from the beginning and had a long journey with us.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm Letitia Watson, call center manager for the Panama City Beach, Florida site. And I started here at this center in 2002. So October, I'll be coming up on 19 years with the team. So it's been definitely a long time. I started off as an agent. I've been anything from an agent to a senior to a supervisor to a trainer. I did communications, sales manager, ACCM with Teleperformance. And so now I'm the call center manager.
That is a lot of positions.
Yeah.
You have done a little bit of it all, which is absolutely the best way to get experience here.
Yeah, I like to dabble in all sorts of different departments. And I think it's helped as a call center manager because I kind of have, an idea of how all the different facets work. So it's been very helpful.
That is exactly probably word for word what I was going to say. Like being in the position you're in now, to have the experience of all those other departments, it has to bring so much to the position you're in now.
Oh yeah, it's I'm so grateful because a lot of people, they get this idea in their head, like I want to go to call center manager, and it's like, really, you need to go around the circle first because it's, so helpful for me to understand how it works, the challenges that people face in different departments. And then now I can kind of speak from a place where I understand what you're going through. I know what those challenges are and kind of
You've been there.
Help to make sure everyone's working, and happy.
Absolutely. So when you started your career with Teleperformance, we've talked about on previous episodes of this podcast that the best way I've heard it worded is the further up you go, the more masculine call centers tend to become. Happily, Teleperformance is not as heavy on that as most call centers that I've ever seen, but still, that is a perception. So when you started, did you ever imagine that you would become a leader in what is considered mostly a male-dominated profession?
It never really crossed my mind when I started. For Panama City Beach in particular, for 19 years, every single site manager we've had here has been a woman. So for me, I've had some really great mentors and leaders that have been strong women. So on a local level, it never really crossed my mind. I will say as call center manager, I do see that a little bit more. My team is a team of guys. So it's, I'm the only female on the group. But, in all actuality, it never really kind of comes to light that there's any difference. I think TP is really great that if you're a part of the team, you're a part of the team. It's very collaborative environment. And I've had wonderful mentors, male and female, but again, very strong women in leadership that I've been able to really look up to my entire career path, which has been great.
That is one thing that has remained like consistent in every one of these that we have for Women's Equality Day and just in other like D&I events that we have had, that these are all like very important conversations when you're talking like female leadership, how far can females go and this and that. But at Teleperformance, it doesn't like, it's not that barrier. It is so collaborative and inclusive. And I feel like that's part of the conversation every time we have these conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I've never felt like this is going to hold me back or I'm going to be held back because, something. I honestly probably had more challenges in my career when I was younger, I was 19 and was, in a senior or a SME role, working with people who are older than me. I came up across more challenges with that. which helped me grow, obviously, learning how to overcome those and work with people. But, with teleperformance, I mean, it is such a diverse environment, even now working with all genders, ages, just backgrounds. I feel like it's so inclusive, and that's one of my favorite things about the company. I like that we work with people just from across the board, everywhere, all over the globe. And I don't feel like it could hold you back. Anything could hold you back in this company. If you work for it, it's up for grabs. It's yours.
100% agree. So one thing that we have asked a couple of our guests on here is being in leadership. One of the big things that it's always perceived that it's harder for females, with us talking about Women's Equality Day, but is that work-life balance. Because, trying to balance whether it be a family, hobbies, anything outside of work, and just the roles and responsibilities of being in a leadership position. How would you say that you balance that work life? And do you think it's been easier at Teleperformance than other places?
I think it's a challenge. In my earlier career, I didn't have a good grasp on work-life balance. I'm like a worker bee to the core of my being. I like to work. I like to be busy. I like 50 different things going on all at the same time to keep me occupied. I like to work. I enjoy what I do. I like long work days. But I've tried to get better the older I get. I have kids. I have 3 kids. So being a mother, being a call center manager, managing, all my kids at work and then my kids at home, it can sometimes be challenging. But, I think it's important to kind of disconnect sometimes, and be able to focus. My kids think it's cool, you're the boss, so they think it's kind of cool. And I let them into that world a little bit. And we talk about stuff that happens at work and, how it is to be a leader and have responsibility. So I kind of bring them into that world a little bit. I manage our neighborhood outside of work, so they help me with that. So I think it's been like a good conversation starter to have with my kids about good work ethic and, being able to balance things out and working hard and how that really impacts your life and will give you a good trajectory in the future. But I work hard, play hard too. So you have to work and then play with my kids after work, and we're real creative, artsy fartsy kind of people. So we're always creating things, painting things, doing pictures, making something out in the backyard. And I think that's important, to have a little bit of that balance too, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Like I am single mom of 1. I don't know how you do it with 3, single, married, anything. That's a lot. Like
Yeah.
I struggle with 1. And I'm not artsy at all. No. But we do sports, like sports is our thing. We're always gone. She plays travel ball, school basketball, and up until recently, when COVID hit, she was doing cheer, gymnastics, tumbling, and then the basketball on top of it and soccer. So like that, it keeps us crazy busy. But I'm exactly the same. Like I'm super worker bee. I like to be working all the time, but
Yep.
there's that equal, like you said, the work hard, play hard. I give just as much when I sign off here into her as I do when I'm here at work. So
Yeah, I think that's
totally
important.
agree.
And it's hard. I mean, that shows a lot for you. You work hard and they're still doing all these activities. I have one of mine who's very involved in sports. The other 2 are gamers, so that kind of helps a little bit. They're not as much interested in the sports. But they're still interested in cool stuff and, school activities and whatnot. But it can be very difficult to balance. I think the key is to really, I'm a planner at heart, so I like to organize and plan things, just making sure, you have like a view of everything that's going on. You're like proactive about it, not reactive, running last minute. Make sure there's a plan in place. All right, we have this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Here's our timeline. Everyone's on the same page. So it's managing a business outside of work as well when you have a family and extracurricular activities, for sure.
Absolutely. And then if you're like the OCD like me, like I've got a work planner, I've got a personal planner, I have one planner that has all of it together in case I forget my other 2. So
Yep. Yep.
I'm
That's me
totally
too.
guilty of that. My 9-year-old has a planner, so she keeps all of her stuff in it.
Yeah. I
Oh,
definitely understand that.
so one other thing that you mentioned, in the beginning that you've had mostly female, or I guess you said every call center manager that has been there since you've been there has been female. So you said you've had really strong female leaders. Have any of those been like an inspiration for you getting to where you are today, or was it someone maybe even like outside of work? Who would you say like inspired you, whether it be one or multiple people?
You know, I've had a lot of people, tons of inspiration over my life. And, I hate to sound generic, but I was raised by a very strong woman. My mother is, she's insane. She's just a machine. She's always been, if there's something needs to be done, we need to build a fence or a wall or rip down a house, we're going to figure out how to do it. We never asked for help. It didn't matter. We're strong women, we can do it, we'll learn how to do it. So I mean I was raised with her. We did everything under the sun, and she's an amazing woman. She's a very hard worker. She has awesome work ethic, so I got a lot of that stuff from her. Always pushing me, pushing me, pushing me. You can do more, you can do more, you can do more. And then I've had some wonderful people I've reported to. When I first started at 18, we had an amazing call center manager, and she really inspired me. I started at the call center really to split a bonus with one of my friends, like, hey, they have a sign on bonus. That'll be cool. And then I met her, and she was just a boss. Had just this unbelievable personality. She was wonderful with people. And I remember just feeling so inspired, like, wow, I wonder if I could be like that one day. So she really drove me to push myself, get outside of my comfort zone, go for the position, get the experience. This is a career path. And so that has helped me a lot with my people, the people that work for me. Like I meet the new hire classes and say, you may not think this is a career and it may not feel like one right now, but I'm telling you, I felt the same way. And if you just expand your horizons, this place will offer you more experience than you could ever imagine, whether you're going to stay in the call center world or not. But there's so much experience to gain, so many areas of opportunity, to make it a career in the future. So that kind of my experience helps me push them too. Stick it out. You could do anything. You could run a call center yourself. It's lots of opportunity.
I love that. And I love that you use your experience like with your new people coming into your building and getting, just that one-on-one personal with them. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think at some point in time, we might have to talk about our mothers because I was raised by a woman who I call an insane single mother. She was a
Yeah.
good one, though.
Yeah.
Strong, good one. But yes, it was push come to shove my whole life.
It makes an impact though,
Oh,
That's what I tell people.
absolutely.
I'm from a very long line of crazy women, I mean, my grandmother's like that too. She's just, they're crazy, but it's pushed me like, all right, we're gonna build a house ourselves, or whatever the project of the day is.
Yeah,
So I'm
I
very
always tell her that
thankful.
I thought she was crazy growing up, and now, like, she's like, "Oh, so you don't think I am now?" And I'm like, "No, I still think you're
Yeah.
crazy. I just understand it. Like, now I
Yeah.
get the crazy because
I
I've got it
understand
now."
and appreciate it, but it doesn't
Yes,
change the fact that you're crazy.
yes.
Yep.
Oh gosh. So I think you've already touched on it a couple of times, like what you said, going into the new hire class and things like that that you already do. But if you were talking to a young woman who was entering the same kind of profession that we're in, what do you think like your main piece of advice that you would share with her would be?
Um, I think just like don't ever stop learning. I'm a big proponent for continued education, always doing courses, leadership courses. There's no end to self-improvement, and then don't give up. I think I see a lot of people who will apply for a role. Well, I applied for supervisor, I didn't get it. And then they'll get very discouraged and kind of try to, their whole mindset changes. And I tell people all the time, I have probably been coached more than anyone in my entire call center. I have been coached. I mean, starting at 18, I was a baby, So I just gave my age away also. Um, but, I was coached so many times. I applied for supervisor probably 5 or 6 times and got declined. I applied for all sorts of roles, and it, for one reason or another, wasn't my time. But, you can't let that get you discouraged. You can't stop trying. You can't stop jumping on opportunities and trying to take advantage of things. Really take that feedback. What could I do better to be a better leader? What was it? And then take that and work on it, and really just continue self-improvement, nonstop self-improvement, always trying to be a better version of yourself in and outside of work, I think is very important. Continue growing, continue trying. Don't let anyone discourage you or tell you that you can't do it. Because, if it's not your time, it's not your time, but the next time might be your time.
For sure. And I think you just touched on one of the things. Somebody asked me the same question, as we're doing these podcasts. And that was, what I said my piece of advice would be to just don't give up. And my other piece of it is, if you have people that are telling you can't do it, you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Surround yourself with people who are encouraging you not to give up and to keep going.
Yes, I think that's huge, especially with women. I will say I think it's so important that we lift each other up in all aspects. Some people have a hard time not feeling jealous of somebody else's wins, but it should never be like that. I mean, we should be celebrating. Like, I'm so proud of you. That's great. Learn from other people's successes, but we all need that reinforcement. So push each other up, challenge each other, friends, family, coworkers, whatever it is, challenge them to continue going, and it's very important to have that good support group. And you're right. If people around you aren't doing that, you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Yep.
For sure. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up what we've got to talk about today. But I do want to give you a big thanks for coming on and being on the podcast and being a part of it. I know it was really kind of last minute for you and you kind of got thrown in here, but it was great. I love talking to you, and I want to thank you for coming on with us.
No, I appreciate it. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for everybody who has been listening and following along throughout the month of August, we do have one more podcast coming up next week. That one's going to be a surprise guest that I won't give away just yet. But be sure you are subscribing to the Spotify channel for Teleperformance's podcast, and join us again next week. Bye.
Thanks.